Crazy ending to game 4 of the Western Conference Finals. The Timberwolves stay alive. The Mavs, they're gentlemen. And how does this all impact the Boston Celtics as they wait and wait and wait and wait? It's all right now on the Locked On NBA podcast.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On NBA podcast. Very excited to have you here with us on our normal Wednesday rotation. Yay, we're back. I'm John Karalis, host of the Locked On Celtics podcast. Find me on Twitter, X, at John_Karalis.
And I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast, on Twitter, at NolaJake.
Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Get onto that YouTube page. Hit that comment section. Let us know what you think of the Minnesota Timberwolves hanging on, sticking with it, forcing a game 5. Big turnaround, Jake. Here it comes.
Is game 5 the pivotal game, or is that game 6?
It's not pivotal when it's down. It's 3-1.
Oh, okay.
Game 5s are only pivotal when it's 2-2. So
that's what it is. Okay.
That's when pivotal. That's
all right. We don't have a pivotal game yet.
No pivotal games.
So we just we maybe have a series.
Maybe.
What do we have here?
We have
stars that showed up for the Timberwolves in this game. That's cool. We'll talk about that in today's show.
Yep. We have the Celtics in the finals and just kind of once again waiting. The Celtics have started each round of this not knowing who their opponent's going to be and having an extended wait. We'll talk about that later on. We'll talk about the stars, Luka and Kyrie, and something that was missing for the Mavs and how that impacted them. But to the victors go the spoils. And to us, to you, goes this show brought to you by Game Time. Go ahead and download that Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. Get $20 off your first purchase. Hey, terms apply there. And for the Timberwolves, they finally got their 2 stars to, okay, we'll talk about Karl-Anthony Towns in a second. But we're going to be nice to the Timberwolves because they won. Anthony Edwards comes through. Cat comes through late. A crazy ending. Almost a disastrous ending. I could not believe 5 seconds of basketball where literally everything went wrong for everybody involved. Mike Conley, they're up 6. Mike Conley misses the free throw to go up 7. Luka gets a wild 3-pointer, gets fouled, and so now has a chance to bring it to 2, and he misses the free throw. Jake, literally everything that could possibly go wrong there did.
Yeah, we could have been having a very, very different conversation on today's show. That was just kind of a crazy ending with Luka Doncic just doing Luka Doncic things, to be perfectly honest, including that 6th foul that he drew on Karl-Anthony Towns a little bit before that as well on a 3-point shot attempt. So, look, I'm happy for the Minnesota Timberwolves for winning this game, getting back home, getting a game 5, maybe being able to take this to 6. But they didn't. They got their star players playing well, right? That's what this one has kind of come down to this whole series. Luka and Kyrie, for the first 3 games, have outplayed Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. Towns and Edwards showed up, but even then, that was almost not enough because, they showed up and scored, but both of them did some real dumb things late in that game, and it's just the type of thing that feels like it's holding them back, right?
Yeah, look, the Karl-Anthony Towns fouls are they've been a problem. The stupid Karl-Anthony Towns fouls are a running joke, like a running problem. He's going to give you 2 fouls, at least 2 or 3 fouls a game sometimes, where it's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? The over the back, the offense.
That one was bad. The over the back one was so bad. And then the one on Luka where it's just you don't need to do that, man. Don't leave your feet.
Yeah. It's just, and I hate that call. I hate that call for the 6th foul. But
But
you just cannot he just Karl-Anthony Towns lacks this much discipline in his game. He's about like 5 to 10% lacking in the discipline column. And if he could find that, he'd be such a different player. He'd be an MVP candidate, for God's sake.
They're like one Luka Doncic free throw and one Kyrie Irving make away from winning this game, and then we would be ripping Towns on this show.
Yeah.
So like credit to him for making his threes in this one. Started off 4 of 4, played well. Anthony Edwards posting up, doing kind of Anthony Edwards things, giving you really good defense, including down the stretch, even though he had that foul on the like miraculous Luka 3-pointer make that Luka then missed the free throw on. But he was there. Like they showed up. But it's like you said, right? Like there's like 5% missing, wrong. And that's just killing them, right? That's what it is. Like they need to be 100% because you're down 0-3, right? You know, teams ever come back from this, man. Like you can't do some of this dumb stuff if you want to buck that trend and be the first people to ever do it. So when you see some of these dumb fouls by Karl-Anthony Towns, you're like, do you not understand the stakes? Do you not know kind of the situation that they're in? And look, credit the Timberwolves for coming out and playing. They could have just given this game up, right? In the fourth quarter, especially when they were up 24-12, and then Dallas comes back to take a lead in the first half, and you're like, oh man, the momentum's gone. Like they're cooked. That one felt done. Going into halftime, I'm like, Dallas is going to run away with this in the third quarter, fourth quarter. And you kind of got a little bit of that. You get some like incredible Dante Exum minutes. That was just wild to start that third quarter where he showed up. And you felt like they were going to win this, and they didn't. So that's a credit to the Timberwolves. You saw Chris Finch standing up, trying to coach a little bit more because he knows the stakes here and everything. So they delivered on that, and I'm happy for them. But if you want to win 3 more, you're going to need to be better than you were in this game. So I'm happy that they won for them, but they need to be better, right? Like that. I don't want to just be like, cool, this is great. If we're going to analyze it here on the show, they have to be better. It's really that simple.
You hold the Mavericks to 100 points. And I say hold, you know, when you win, you get to hold the other team to whatever they do.
Yeah, sure.
Right? You hold them to 100 points. You hold them to 42% shooting, 35% from 3, 14 of 40 overall. The Timberwolves won a lot of these little margins here in the game where they shot better. They shot better from 3 percentage wise. They got to the line more, even though they didn't make enough. They need to be better at the free throw line. Each team can say this. When you get to the line 25 times and you shoot 64%, you're like, hit 4 more and this is a comfortable win, right? Yeah. The Timberwolves had 15 turnovers for 30 Mavericks points. Protect the ball, and you are winning this going away. So there are little things that you can clean up, but it's the discipline stuff. It's Karl-Anthony Towns. When all playoffs long, where I'm saying I don't trust the Timberwolves, I'm basically saying I don't trust Karl-Anthony Towns.
No, I mean, I think it's like a lot of them, right? Like, do you trust Rudy Gobert, defensively? Now, he was actually good. I do want to give him credit. Down the stretch, he had some good defense on Luka and Kyrie to almost like save the game for the Timberwolves, and that's probably not going to get talked about enough. You liked the way he defended there, but in other games, you haven't been able to trust him. Right? Chris Finch sitting on the second row of the bench is a little bit weird, right? And probably throwing them into some sort of disorder as well. Like all of that, like, I don't know what it is about this team, but I look at them and it's like, yeah, no, like I just don't, it's that, right? Like they just leave you wanting for more, it feels like. And for a team that's in the conference finals, like you can't be doing that.
No. And then on the other side, Kyrie did not shoot well at all. He had that turnover late. He looked off the whole game. Kyrie,
let's talk about that next.
You could kind of tell from the beginning that this might not be a good Kyrie game. Yeah, this is a good time to pivot. We'll talk about that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. You're excited for the NBA Finals. It's going to be the Celtics and somebody. So fans in Dallas, maybe fans in Minnesota are going to be looking for NBA Finals tickets. And now you can get them faster and easier on Game Time. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down as you get closer to tip off. Go ahead and download that Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase of last-minute tickets. And it doesn't have to just be the NBA Finals. It can be whatever other sporting event you want. It could be whatever theater event, comedy show. If tickets are being sold online in your area, there's a really good chance they're going to show up on the Game Time app. Why do you want to use the Game Time app? Because you can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for all of these shows, concerts, comedy, theater, sports, all of that stuff. You can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. You can choose a section. It's called a zone deal, and Game Time chooses the seats, and you can save even more there. You toggle the all-in pricing, and you can see all those the costs up front, so no surprise fees at checkout. And they've even got the panoramic view of your seat in the app, so you can tell what you're going to see from your seat before you buy it. Game Time credits you 110% of the difference if you find your tickets for less somewhere else. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets or any other tickets with Game Time. Download that app, like I said, create the account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKED, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. LOCKEDONNBA is the code. Download Game Time today. Last minute ticket, lowest prices guaranteed. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports Today, streaming 24/7 on the YouTube or the Amazon Fire, free Amazon Fire TV channels app. This show will be in that rotation because, all of our national shows are. So
we're on there.
We're on there. All of our big shows, all of our conversations, real conversation, real talk, not fake arguing. Jake and I did not pick sides before we got onto the show.
We had a topic that we're not using in here that we were on different sides on, but it wasn't fake. It was real.
It was real. We love to play our real or fake.
That's true, actually.
We're always real when we're talking about, when we're sharing our opinions. In my opinion of the Dallas Mavericks is they got just crappy games from Kyrie. Kyrie is the linchpin here. He's the guy. Like Luka, he had triple-double in this game. 28 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists. Didn't shoot well. 7 of 21, 4 of 11 from 3, 10 of 12 from the line. But it's Kyrie. You need that.
When Luka hit that 3 that Anthony Edwards fouled him on and went to the line to shoot one, which would have made it a 2-point game, did you think they were going to win?
I thought they had a real chance. I didn't think they were going to win, but I was like, oh, crap. I really didn't think they were going to win, but it felt like it was going to be one of those, like, this cannot be how they lose.
Oh, I thought they were going to win. The second Luka hit that absurd 3, just tossed it up and it goes in, goes to the line for one more. It's like, oh, he's going to make the free throw. They're going to play the foul game. Someone's going to miss one. Luka's going to hit a 3 to tie it, send it to overtime, and that was going to be the game. And I was excited. It was going to be fun.
So it's funny. I'm watching the game with my wife, and she's like, we're talking. She's like, Luka's doing stuff, and she's like, this is why I'm nervous for the Celtics. If they're going to play Luka and he does this crazy stuff.
He does that, man. Like, he hits those shots. Like, the second he just chucks that thing up with Anthony Edwards, like, well, that's going to go in because that's what Luka does.
Listen, I have seen Luka hit crazy shots. He hits that shot and I'm like, but I look at the clock and I'm like, they don't have enough time. They don't have it. It
was like 12 seconds left. They could have.
I know. They just didn't have. I was like, oh, if they only had like a little bit more, but I wasn't 100% convinced.
Okay.
Right. I wasn't
because Kyrie was having a bad game.
Kyrie had a bad game, and he had that his 4th turnover at the end, which was just a bad turnover. And like I said, I was watching him earlier in the game, and like, it just didn't feel like the same super engaged Kyrie from the first few games. And not to say that he's going to be great every game. Like, everybody has an off night. Like, Anthony Edwards has had off nights. Every player's had off nights in these playoffs. So it's not a knock on Kyrie. Just didn't have it in this game. 16 points, 6 of 18 shooting, 1 of 6 from 3. Cold shooting night from 3 from him. But just like we're talking with the Timberwolves, you need Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns. It didn't matter necessarily. You didn't get a big night from Naz Reid or or anybody else. Like Jaden McDaniels didn't have a huge scoring or anything like that. It's Edwards and Towns. And for Dallas, it's Doncic and Kyrie. Now the question here is, did not having Derek Lively, who has been great for them, who has been great in the pick and rolls, because he has made it difficult to blitz Luka Doncic because of his ability to make plays out of that. Not having him, and Gafford's good, and they got Maxi Kleber back, and he's got to give him time to get acclimated. Not having Lively changes the calculus and changes what Minnesota is able to do defending Irving, defending Doncic. And I don't know how long he's going to be out. First of all, side note, very amazed and happy for Lively that he did not get a concussion. I don't know how he avoided the concussion, but thankfully he avoided it. I don't know how long he's going to be out, but as long as he's out, there is a risk. There is a little risk that Kyrie and Luka aren't going to have the same kinds of looks, and that there might be tough shooting nights ahead.
So Lively's the key for them, particularly going into the NBA Finals, which I think we both kind of assume it's going to be them versus the Boston Celtics, right? He's like a plus minus marvel. Game 1, when you look at the plus minus for these guys, Gafford, who I think has been really good for them, right? Sure, minus 15 in game 1. Lively was plus 19 off the bench, right? Like their plus minus very often like mirrors is like an opposite one another. Game 2, Gafford was a minus 3 in game 2, and Lively was a plus 2. Right? Mm-hmm. Even in game 3, when Lively leaves early with that injury, and again, very happy to see him, he was a plus 1, and then Gafford was a plus 10 in that. So you see, though, that clearly Lively has been so impactful for them. And I think that's something that when you look at, like, they need that kind of guy. They need that extra lob threat so that those minutes when Gafford isn't out there, you have Lively, and it works. When you look at their plus minus in this game tonight, right, or in their minutes, you had Kyrie playing 42 minutes, Luka playing 41, Gafford played 31. You needed like 10 more good center minutes, 10 more good big man minutes, and if you get that, and it kind of mirrors the number of minutes for Luka, for Kyrie, they both probably play better, and then Dallas probably wins this game, right? I kind of assume that off the bench, you'd see Derek Lively be like a plus 10 here, and that makes this a 5-point game the other way. And we're now previewing at that point the NBA Finals when it comes to it, right? Like that's kind of what they needed and they were missing in this. One of the things they've kind of had through the first 3 games of the series, Dallas at least, is a little bit of balance, right? You had dominant games from Luka and Kyrie, but you had the other guys stepping up too, making shots, being contributors. They didn't really get that in this game. So Luka and Kyrie didn't have kind of the same margin for error, right? Like they also needed to be perfect when you're not really going to get much off your bench from anybody. That's partially where this one kind of comes from too, but your stars are the guys that need to carry you. And I don't know if we should really like pin this on the role players when Kyrie goes 6 of 18 or whatever it was, 6 of 18.
It's one of those things though, that because of what Lively can do, it maneuvers the defense. It moves the defense around just a little bit, right? So it's not always about the star players do or do not. There is no try, very Yoda kind of approach. But the reality is the role players do matter. And a guy like Lively matters because if he makes it so a defender has to go to him versus maybe if it's Gafford or if it's Dwight Powell or whomever, if you don't have to account for the role guy the same way, right? If you can guard him in a different way and you're not committing a defender the way you would with Lively, then that defender is now free to block a driving lane.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I mean, it's just a vertical spacing threat, right? Like that's what it is. It's just pure vertical spacing with those guys being those lob threats that when they're in the dunker spot, you got to stick someone on them.
Right. And it's the passing that he can, it's the playmaking. And so when that element is gone and that defender can be committed somewhere else, or the other defenders can stay closer to their assignments, then that changes enough, right? Like this game of inches type of concept where Kyrie can get to the rim and have one of his crazy lefty finishes versus, his spot has been blocked and now he's trying to, he's trying it from further away, or he peels off, or he's shooting a jumper and it's contested and he misses and he just has a cold shooting night. That type of stuff is missing. And so
it was, and that's interesting you say that, right? Because he had that like lefty layup right to start the game, and that early on in the first quarter, you're it's going to be that guy. If he's hitting that right off the bat, like good luck. And then he just looked so timid and tentative, right? Like he passed up multiple threes, he drove into the paint, and then just kind of dribbled out or passed out of there when it's like, what are you doing? Like go to the rim and finish. Yeah, that's a good point though. Of like, it's something you and I were kind of texting about before we started recording. And it was like, these role players kind of, aren't maybe the most talented players we've ever seen moved at the trade deadline, let's say. Right. Yeah. But some of these guys kind of like unlock Luka and Kyrie and significantly make them better by putting the right pieces around those guys. And that can be just as important too.
That's right. The talent is one thing. The fit is can enhance
through the roof here.
Yeah, no, the fit, if the fit is right and it enhances, if you can enhance Luka Doncic, if you can enhance Kyrie Irving, then that's whatever talent that player may not have individually doesn't matter, because you're making two superstars even more dangerous. So that's the same. It's the same thing. That amount of talent is just being distributed differently, and I'd rather have it in Kyrie and Luka than that guy. I'd rather have the fit and have those guys be enhanced. So we'll see. It could be very simple. If Lively comes back, we could see a completely different Mavericks offense and better shooting, and this could be over in 5. If Lively misses game 5, then watch for the same type of thing. We could have Minnesota win that and come back to Dallas for game 6. And now that makes it interesting, because now you've gone 6, and there are the Celtics just chilling in Boston, having their chowder, just waiting for an opponent. Is that a problem for the Celtics? We'll play our game of real or fake when we come back. Jake, the Celtics have had 6, 5, and now I think 10 days in between the end of their previous game. One was the regular season before the play-in, and the beginning of a playoff series. So they had to wait that entire week of the play-in to figure out that they were playing the Miami Heat. They win in 5. Then they had 5 or 6 days off. They figure out if they were playing the Cavs or Orlando. They win that in 5. Then they have to wait for the Pacers and Knicks to play their 7-game series. And the Celtics end up sweeping that. So now June 6th is game 1 of the finals no matter what. The Celtics are waiting and waiting and waiting. Let's play our favorite game.
Is this real or fake? Just ask John and Jake.
Real or fake, this waiting game here for the Celtics is a disadvantage for them.
This is so fake. There's going to be a lot made about this. People are going to talk about it, and it's fake. Guess what? The Boston Celtics clinched the 1 seed, I believe, on April 4th. Their first playoff game against the Miami Heat wasn't until April 21. They beat the Miami Heat in 5 games. As you said, they had another. That's longer than this playoff, the NBA Finals layoff is going to be, right? Like we wondered, and you and I talked a lot about this, right? Like what are they going to do for these 2-3 weeks when they have nothing to play for?
Yeah.
Will that be a problem in that first series? It wasn't. They've had another wait for the second round. Didn't matter. Another wait for the conference finals against the Indiana Pacers. That didn't matter. It's not going to matter now either. Like, if anything, it gives Missoula more time to kind of watch film and think and make that team a little bit more deadly. But no, I'm not worried about them at all because they have more time to wait and rest and be healthy. If anything, look, this helps Kristaps Porzingis, right, be fully healthy and maybe not on a minutes restriction or something like that going into game one of the finals. And that's going to be a big addition for that team.
That's all true. That's all true, except it's real. It's real, Jake. It's real. For about 4 minutes of the basketball game. Then it's fake. The first 4 minutes of the game, game one, against whomever it's going to be, is going to be a little bit of a feeling out for the Celtics. But then I feel like they're going to be fine. So it is fake. You know who's really at a disadvantage in all of this? Me. Because
what are you going to do? What are you going to talk about here?
I got to talk about your Celtics waiting. Wait, how many different ways? I'm going to set a record for how many different ways we can break down an NBA Finals.
Yeah, well, you can't do it yet because you don't know the opponent either, right?
Don't know who we're playing.
The finals start June 6th. They've said they're not moving the finals up at all. So, no matter what, it's going to be that day.
It's going to be June 6th. I have already booked my hotel in Dallas. I booked my flight to Dallas today for games 3 and 4. I have not booked anything in Minnesota to Minnesota. I'm sorry. So, if
that's going to be an incredible jinx if we're on here next week and being like, so
everything's refundable. Look, the Celtics, there are both advantages and disadvantages to sitting there and waiting because it gets a little old. And I think the one thing that they are actually legitimately at risk at is some level of complacency. Like, okay, all right, this is like, what are we doing here? Like, can we do something? I really think the Celtics should explore hiring a squad, hiring some team of maybe European pros, somebody out there that can come in and actually scrimmage against the Celtics. So they're not scrimmaging against each other. So they have somebody to beat up on, somebody that can play them, somebody that's excited to play them hard. And so the Celtics can actually get some up and down against somebody. You know what I mean?
I kind of love the troll move of them bringing over Real Madrid or something like that. Barcelona, one of the better teams, right? Be like, yeah, we're just going to play an exhibition game. We're going to sell tickets. We'll have concessions. Come watch us because we need this because everyone is taking too long to determine our opponent here. Just the ultimate disrespect to do something like that.
What would be amazing if they just got stunt doubles for all of these guys, and instead it's Luke Doncic and not Luka. They just get some guy that kind of resembles him, and they put put a jersey on him, just body doubles for all of these guys. And
I could have made a career standing in for Jose Calderon then.
Seriously, man, come on. I will gladly offer to go scrimmage against the Boston Celtics. I can give them 30 to 32 good seconds of basketball.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was seconds would be us against NBA players. Let me ask you this while we're on the topic of the Celtics. This is a question I've been wondering about, and I got you here, so I'm going to ask. I'm going to phrase it as a real or fake here. If the Boston Celtics don't win the finals, this is a disappointing / disaster of a season.
That's fake. That's fake. It depends. The real answer is it depends on how they lose. Okay. So let's assume that they lose in this scenario here. If they go out, play well, and
lose in 7,
you play. Yeah. You play 7. Luka has a special game 7. If you play well and you just lose, then that's not a disappointment at all. right? If you go out and you screw around and turn the ball over 25 times and settle for threes instead of like generating good threes, if you start doing a lot of the same things that people have been worried about over the years, that is a disaster. That is an unmitigated disaster. If you come out and you split games 1 and 2 at home, you split games 3 and 4 on the road, you come back tied, and it just goes, win, and game 7 is Luka and Kyrie, and they just are just better. If that just happens, and you're like, damn it, there's nothing you can do about that, because sometimes you just lose, and that's how it goes. So yeah, the real answer is it depends. And I know a lot of people will say that's wrong and the Celtics have to win. And this might be the Celtics' best chance to win. So in a sense, there is an element of the Celtics have to win, because frankly, this has been like a perfect season for them.
I also wonder if they'll be able to put a better roster around Tatum and Brown, right? Like going forward, like it feels like this could be their best chance.
Even if they brought everybody back.
Yeah.
If they literally brought back the same exact team, it's not the same exact team, because
correct.
Each year is different, and there's different elements, and like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are different. And the Derek White will be different. There are contracts involved. Some contracts expire. Different things happen in people's lives. Personal things happen in people's lives that change their demeanor. Everything changes next season, even if it's the exact same people. This has been such a just perfect season for the Celtics. The things that their failures are failures that they learned from. Mazzulla has grown a lot as a coach. The players have grown, and really legitimately, they like each other. There is zero drama with this team. It's so great in Boston that it's boring in Boston. There's nothing to talk about. So people are manufacturing storylines about them. So in that regard, this kind of has to be their year, because you don't get opportunities like this very often at all. So I would love to see them capitalize on that. But at the same time, I am not going to disrespect, like people have disrespected Celtics opponents with the narratives against the Celtics. People have really disrespected the Indiana Pacers, who I thought played.
Yeah, they were good in that series.
They played great. And whatever you say about Boston, the Pacers made them play the way they played in a lot of ways. And I'm not going to disrespect the Dallas Mavericks if that's how it goes, and if they win the finals, because they're very capable of winning the finals. Luka is special. Kyrie has done it before, and he is special. So I'm not going to sit there and be like, those guys winning a championship is somehow a problem for the team they beat. It's just that the Celtics have so much going for them that it would kind of be a shame if they couldn't capitalize.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. I don't know. That was good perspective. Just a question I had.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to end on a high note. So we'll say thank you. Thank you to everybody who listens. Thank you to everybody who watches. And just happy to have everybody here on our normal Wednesday slot. So on Wednesdays, I'm one of the hosts here of the show. I'm John Karalis, host of the Locked On Celtics podcast. Find me on Twitter, John_Karalis.
And I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast, on X at NOLA Jake.
Well, Twitter X.
I said it properly finally.
I know. I'm just never going to get there. Hey, check out tomorrow if you want more Dallas perspective. Nick Angstead will be here tomorrow with Pat the Designer, talking a lot more, but also Locked On Mavs, Locked On Wolves. Go check those out. Check out my show, Locked On Celtics, for more preparation into the finals. Check out Jake's Locked On Pelicans. There's a lot there to talk about. Locked On Zion. Make sure you get into the comment section here. Watch the show on YouTube. Share the podcast. Spread the word. Tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On NBA podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.